Philip Dassing.
What's going on?
Kylie Wagner.
Hey, guys.
And a newcomer to the program, Cal Molinay.
Friend of Kylie Wagner.
Oh, wow, that's so hot. Where'd you guys meet? Like the men's room at Arby's?
I didn't know. Did you tell him about that? I had to give him the reach around. It was a courtesy.
Oh, yeah. Dude, I'm excited to have you on the podcast. Last summer, I met you in person for the first time at Anarchon. And you put on Anarchon in or around Richmond, Virginia, correct?
It's in Gore, Virginia, at a private campground called The Cove. And it's the only campground. I looked at maybe 100 campgrounds. It's the only one that has a gun range on site.
Whoa.
Yeah, so you can shoot whatever you want. My friend brought a 50 cal rifle, so
Nice.
big gun. You can shoot anything you want up there. Swimming lakes, trails, campfires. I mean, like bullets, guns, Liberty talks, campfire talks, all that stuff. It's like, I don't know, good time out in the woods.
Yeah, like I came out there last year with Alex Miller, and both of us thoroughly enjoyed it. It was just a great time hanging out. It was, awesome. Thanks for putting it on, dude.
Yeah, we're going to do it again this year in August 16th to the 18th. So Friday to Sunday. There's no admission. It's just regular camping ground admission, which is I think like $13 or something like that a day, 24 hours. And then on Saturday, we do like a burning of a Leviathan. So last year's is a big fish. My friend is going to redesign it, maybe something bigger. I was thinking, like, what's a symbol that people don't mind burning? And I'm not talking about Constitution flags. I'm thinking one would be like Uncle Sam. Nobody really minds if like a caricature of Uncle Sam burns, right?
Mm-hmm.
And people kind of look at him as like a tax collector. Nobody holds him to heart, to say, oh, he's a relic.
I hope not.
Hope not, right? Yeah.
Kyle might.
That
though.
would
Kyle might.
definitely upset a lot of people. I mean, I wouldn't really be upset, but
whatever.
I know,
Dude. Whatever.
I know that a lot
you.
of people would not be able to handle that, especially if you had like American flag pants.
Kyle, what if we
whatever
burnt a road, dude?
What's that?
What if we burnt a road?
Well,
that'd be hard to set a road on fire.
could we get a
really.
piece
Not
of a
really.
road and bring it up there? And
Have you ever seen
burn
a
it.
car accident?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see that being that glorious. It's like a road is flat, right? So it's not. You want something that's tall, like the Uncle
Like a
Sam
bridge.
I could see.
Like a bridge.
You want like a Burning Man, right? It's tall, people can see it.
Yeah.
Like a road, it's like
That's fair.
know.
That's fair.
it's gonna be about like as exhilarating as like a snake.
So-
snakes on 4th of July.
So, Cal, how long have you been doing Anarchon for now?
Several years. I think this will be our 5th year going. So attendance is anywhere between 50 to 100, and we have the time. Yeah, well, it's
Just to give people like a point of reference as to where they would be traveling to.
an hour west of DC.
Okay.
Near Winchester.
So yeah, if you're in that,
Yeah.
That's how close it is? Okay,
Yeah.
I thought this was...
Yeah, really close. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, I
if
know
you
that.
fly in, you take in Dulles, and you're pretty much right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not even that far at all.
Right.
yeah, I mean, like I thought it was totally awesome.
Way up there is like takes like the whole.
And it's supposed... They're...
Yeah. There's Peace and Liberty Midwest Peace and Liberty Festival out in Michigan near Detroit. I don't know if you guys heard of those people.
I think I did
Yeah.
hear something about that. It definitely interests me. So are these all people that moved out there like since the economy went to shit and you get all this property for really cheap?
Out there, Midwest? No, they do it on a private campground. But they got a good group out there going. I mean, down here, we got a good Nova group. We got I'm kind of surprised that there's a lot of going on here in Baltimore, too. So that's pretty cool. You guys have been doing this for 4 years now. So,
Yeah.
in Richmond, we call it Liberate RVA. That's the name of our group. So we've been doing that since 2012. I think this is something that can't continue to get smaller. It continues to get bigger. And
That's what she said.
Yeah.
And her name was Kylie.
And bringing a festival closer to home, I think, makes it more worthwhile than having to drive a whole day up through New Hampshire.
How many people came like last year?
About 50, 60.
Okay.
Yeah.
So cool.
Yeah.
Decent size.
I think the furthest that someone came was all the way from Canada. That's
Wow.
French
Wow.
Canadian. Yeah.
How many could the campground accommodate? Like,
Probably 1,000.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has room to grow, and you can keep it at that location.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
You might have already said this, but which campgrounds is it at?
Camp 6.
Camp 6?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the people that host us say, hey, we're happy to just reserve it for you guys, no cost.
Well,
Yes.
also, can't
Nice.
people can also just go on Facebook right now and they
Right.
could type in. Well, you don't want to go
It's-
right now and leave our program.
Right,
Yeah, stay here.
After
Open
the
up another
program-
tab, bro.
yeah.
Yeah, after the program, you could type in Anarchon
Anarchon
2019.
2019, yeah.
And I've seen the page, and I just thought we should tell people about that.
Yeah.
man. It's
It's a
fucking
good
awesome.
coalition of the Baltimore group, the DC group, Nova, and Richmond just to come and converge together and liberate.
Yeah, man, it's definitely great times.
Get
And,
liberated, man.
Yeah, I definitely want to make it out there again this year.
Get obliterated.
Obliterated.
Yeah,
You might own a couple nights there after a couple whiskeys and other stuff. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, it was a totally awesome party, and the whole time you're just like chilling with all these like liberty-minded people that are local to semi-local.
Yeah.
It's just a really awesome tool to just meet people and also have a good time. I mean,
Yeah,
it's great.
there's some talks too. Like I think the most interesting one was a guy, my friend of mine, Dimitri, who actually escaped the Chernobyl disaster. His parents had a friend who knew that the readings were way off and warned his parents that you guys need to get the hell out of here.
Oh my god.
Wow.
Yeah, so like they put him on a plane and just sent him as far as they can. Because everyone that got involved, even in the cleanup, died.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like even people who you have 10 seconds to pick something up and drop it off, died. They did parades with kids to show nothing's wrong. Everyone's dead. So it's funny because that TV show just came out. But it's even funnier. I don't know if it's true that Russia it wants to come out with their own program.
Yeah, I heard
and
this.
say the U.S. spies came up there to
It was the CIA,
sabotage
yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all the U.S.'s fault, right? I'm sure.
Right. But yeah, it's just a lot of fun. I recommend everyone come in there. There's no Anarchon tickets, prices or anything like that. It's just campground prices and good time in late August. So come on down.
Yeah, man.
Awesome.
Dude, I'm already sold, man.
What exactly are the dates again?
August 16th to the 18th.
16th to the 18th.
Yeah.
Does it have is the crypto community
Hey,
involved? I feel
Phil, I think I heard it's bring your own chair.
BYOC.
Funny, it's so funny.
Yeah, I think Porkfest, the crypto guys are really involved in that.
I have a friend there who bought it was a hybrid car, has the license plate Bitcoin. He paid 1,000 Bitcoins for it.
Jeez,
Whoa.
I don't
Yeah.
know how much.
That's
Sounds like
That's
a lot.
like 7 million right
yeah,
now.
like today, yeah. So it's pretty big. Yeah, you
Yeah.
get a lot of debates. There's some people who don't like crypto. It's just completely Peter Schiff line that it's not backed by anything. Who controls it? That sort of stuff. But there's a good lively debates. So that's kind of the stuff that you want. Doesn't end up with knives thrown or anything like that.
Yeah.
Although what I think you're mentioning here, there's a boxing thing going on where if you have disputes, you fight each other.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Right.
Great segue into topic number 5.
I forgot that they're listed like that.
No, I'm
It's all
just
good.
fucking around.
Yeah,
It doesn't matter, dude.
Wait, what is this, though?
But
I'm actually interested in what is this?
The Baltimore mayor proposed public boxing matches for people to settle their disputes instead of shooting each other.
Are you serious?
Yes, this is
Isn't it great?
Yes.
the interim mayor?
Yes.
I don't know if he's
a
considered
clown.
interim mayor. I mean, he was the.
Well, he's mayor until the next election.
Yeah, for
right?
the listeners that don't know, our last mayor,
Jared, the
resigned,
mayor is always mayor until the next election.
resigned in disgrace. So the Baltimore
enough.
the Baltimore City chairman was appointed the new mayor. So we had a corruption scandal. Our old mayor is gone, and now we have this new guy. And obviously, his number one issue is crime. That's the number one problem in Baltimore City. So he thinks that to curb the violence, maybe if we give people boxing option, that they will. That's how they'll settle their disputes instead. I
Like,
don't
this
know.
is a serious proposal.
Yes.
It wasn't just like a casual, oh, well.
I mean, I think he may have been spitballing a little bit, but I mean, I've seen kind of mixed reaction online because some people are saying, well, you're just teaching people to continue to settle their disputes with violence when we really want people to stop
true.
using violence. And then other people
Fair.
are like, hey, it's better than shooting each other, right? It can't be worse, so let's give it a shot. I'm
Is this
impressed-
facilitated on the taxpayer dime?
Oh, I'm sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, then I'm
I'd
not
rather
a
have
fan.
a boxing than people running around with paint guns and just paintball guns. And just shooting
Yeah,
each
that
other,
was a
you know.
dumb thing too. I
Jared,
saw.
maybe they
Right,
could
yeah.
sell
All
tickets
over
though and
Detroit.
have the program pay for itself.
I mean,
So, yeah, I mean-
they already have boxing matches that you can go
Fair.
watch and pay for tickets. So I don't know how this would be different. I don't know if he envisions like the town square. They would set up a ring, and I have no idea.
And just think about how that makes Baltimore look. I mean, we already look.
I think
bad.
I think at this point,
Like,
how
I mean,
much
I guess
more-
could it get any worse?
Well,
It's like a
yeah.
coliseum. I think it's a
It
good
kinda is.
distraction for that.
Right.
But maybe it's a way to make dueling great again.
What happens?
I think a lot of people talk crap. There's this libertarian thing like, words are not violence or anything like that. But there's some words that kind of seems like to initiate violence. Like, you're at a bar, someone says something about your wife. It's like, okay, that means you want to fight. I'm happy to fight, right?
Right.
Maybe not the establishment, but let's go outside and fight. So I think dueling maybe puts people in a place to kind of respect each other more in a way. Cause,
I see that, but I'm also of the belief that most of these incidents of violence aren't really premeditated. They're kind of spontaneous, emotional responses. A heated argument gets set, and then someone pulls out a gun and shoots. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm gonna get that guy later tonight. Yeah, I'm sure that happens, but it's just like,
Yeah, and then like how do like let's say it's like a drug related thing, right? Are they going to be like do you what's the process going to be to sign up for one of these things? Like, do you have to say what your reason for fighting is? And people aren't going to be like, oh, well, this guy like ripped me off for like 2 ounces.
yes, and if the person doesn't show up, he's a coward, and they gets called out. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
and the police will be sitting there like, okay, we're just
but
arresting
I'm
everyone
just saying,
coming to
I'm
fight.
saying like practically speaking in Baltimore right now, like no one's going to come forward and be like, oh yeah, I want to fight this guy because he ripped me off for, a kilo of
You make
of
up
coke.
code words. He ripped me off for, grass,
Right.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I don't know what motivates all of the shootings in Baltimore. I don't know how many are, if you look at a percentage, like how many are just heat of the moment, someone disrespected someone else, and how many are drug related, right? Like it's hard. I don't have any data on that.
Or you know what? Maybe this is how we should choose our politicians, right? So if you want to be this council and sit on the council seat, you have to fight for that position.
Yeah,
If
you have to defend that position, and when somebody beats you, then all of a sudden they're in charge.
Right. They can challenge you, right, to be city council member number 4 or something like that, or be superintendent.
well, I mean, historically, I mean, how effective were duels at reducing violence?
Yeah, because think about this.
There is data on this, I'm sure, right?
And, like, how many of these duels would possibly turn into like a gunfight later?
Well, when I
Yeah,
hear
that's the other
duel-
thing. It's like if you whoop someone's ass and humiliated him in front of like all of Baltimore City,
Nice.
what do you think he's
Yeah,
going to do
you
after
might
that?
actually have
though?
more of that.
I
you
thought
know?
a duel was a gunfight, right? You slap the guy with the glove, you do 10 paces.
A duel
the
is a
other way,
gunfight.
Yeah, but
right? Yeah, it's
And then you say no reconciliation.
yeah.
I demand satisfaction.
Could you have someone fight in your stead, like Game of Thrones style?
That's a good point, dude.
Right.
Just find the biggest, baddest person at your gym and
They
just be
generally
like, dude,
say, if we do leave it up for politicians, and this is a way how to get those seats, they generally say people are more conservative or libertarian leaning do work out more, and this would be a great way to kind of remove a lot of the liberals in office, right?
yeah. Let's just have foot races. That's nice,
Modern
right?
solutions for modern problems.
Or
foot races.
here's a novel idea: end the drug war.
Yeah.
Right,
Or just
well-
do that.
yeah.
Well, this is more fun.
A spelling contest.
Okay,
So one of our fans has suggested a spelling contest.
Oh my God.
There would be no winners.
Spell that. Yeah. Jeez.
All right, I want to cut in and remind everybody that we have a Patreon now, and because Facebook hit us pretty hard, blah blah blah. So if you go to
Don't blah 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 that.
if you go to like Patreon.com, put in Punk Rock Libertarians. If you contribute a minimum of $1 per month, you will gain access to our After Hours program, which we record right after this one. So hit us up there if you can. If not, just tell your friends about us. That would
Go
be
to
awesome.
hell.
Wow, dude.
If you're not
That's
signed up for the Patreon, you
That's
can go to
just
hell.
Phil. And if you want to fight Phil in a boxing match,
Yeah.
we will set that up.
It's $1. I can tell people to go to hell if they don't want to pay $1.
Who would you choose, past or present, to fight in a boxing match?
Wait, say that again?
Who would you choose, past or present? You can bring him right now to fight. Who
That
would
I
it be?
could fight them?
Yeah.
Hitler.
Hitler.
Or John Keynes.
Yeah, but what if
John Maynard Keynes.
Yeah, what if Hitler beat your ass though? Like, what if you got beat? Like, damn, Hitler knocked
I don't
me
know,
the
dude.
fuck
He
out,
kind of looks
dude.
like a little bitch. Though.
He's
was
a war,
there, his
he's a war
lederhosen.
veteran.
Yeah,
All
but
right, he might know some stuff.
but he was an
right?
artist too.
All right.
Yeah, but he was one of the ones that died, though, dude. If
Wait.
you're a vet that dies,
I always imagine like who would win in a fight, like Jesus or Muhammad or something like that. Like Muhammad was a warrior, warlord, and stuff like that. But then I'm thinking,
Yeah.
like Jesus also had to carry that, 50-ton cross on his back. You got to
you
be
could also
kinda-
like walk on water.
you got to be swole to kind of carry
Yeah.
that kind of log.
Yeah, what if Jesus used the Force against
he would-
Muhammad?
Yeah.
All right.
He wouldn't fight though because his whole thing was turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
That means if somebody smacks
That's
you
not
in
true.
if somebody smacks you in the face, you turn the other cheek. So
But
they
dude,
can
what about him
smack
like
that one,
flipping
too.
over the fucking like
right,
tables?
he
and
flipped
shit?
over. He has some aggression.
He's
in
got
him.
a little
Yeah.
angry
he was a
streak
little,
in him.
he was a little
Don't
mad
know.
at your people selling stuff
know,
on the
man.
Sabbath,
Yeah.
man, in the temple.
Yeah.
We've suffered ever since.
I don't see him as a fighter. I don't see him as a fighter.
Thanks, Jesus.
He's more like a keto. Use their own
Fucking
strength
Jesus.
against them.
You wouldn't want to fight somebody that was like good, like a Hercules or something like that. You would just get
No,
killed.
dude. Like half man, half
Achilles.
God. No.
Yeah. No.
Yeah, let's not do that,
dude.
I don't want to fight some.
You want to fight like Stephen Hawking?
I'll
or
fight
something.
more.
Oh Jesus, dude.
So a guaranteed
Right,
win.
I'll fight Gandhi.
Christopher
Gandhi.
Reeves.
Gandhi,
It's like stop sleeping with little kids, you fucker, and just like beat the shit out of him.
Christopher Reeves.
I've heard something about David Bowie sleeping with 13-year-olds
Right.
recently. Yeah.
Oh shit.
Yeah, and like these people are kind of like all stars for like progressives and stuff like that. But it's kind of
Jesus.
different when it comes to like they're rock stars for themselves. I'd probably fight Marx. I mean, that
That's
probably
a
might be
good-
an easy one, right?
Yeah, that's a
Maybe
good
Maybe
choice.
one where like you can
Dude.
change the course of history. You know?
Tag team it,
Yeah.
man. Engels and Marx versus you, and like who would you pick? Who else? Who would be your tag team member?
Mises.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
that's
just
a war
wonder. I
veteran,
just
yeah.
wonder.
Yeah.
Even if Marx hadn't come around, I still feel like some form of socialism would have emerged.
Well, there was
You
always
know?
socialism, but they're all kind of crazy socialism, like stuff saying like the end goal of socialism, we all have like ant lions and everything will be anti-animals, and they'll come to you, be offered for you to eat them, and the whole oceans will be full of Kool-Aid, and you'll spend most of your time having orgies and sex. And then Marx came and was like, "This is
Sir, I'd
kinda
like
crazy.
to sign up for your philosophy.
What's your religion again?" And then Marx says he erased all that and he just said this is scientific socialism, and he just kind of went a different approach and just kind of threw a lot of shade at all the other French socialist philosophers. So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah.
But he seems to be at the right place, right time to kind of change
Right.
the crap ideology to where it is.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true.
So like I think like I always like to think like who's the most damaging towards like society or Western civilization? Marx, Muhammad,
Wagner.
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 Yeah,
musician.
Keynes. Someone said Keynes. Or
Hitler's,
Keynes, right?
Hitler's
You know,
mother. I'd fight Hitler's mother.
We don't really follow a Marxist. We don't have a Marxist system. You
No.
know, I mean,
Kyle, we've got Republican socialism.
and I argue with like real socialists on Facebook all the time, and they want something completely different than what we have. You know, they want worker ownership of the means of production, and they think wages are slavery and all that. And most of the population doesn't believe that.
No,
You know, like.
they like that,
So-
like the term mixed economy.
I mean,
better.
yeah, you had the Soviet Union, so you could, if you take Marx out, maybe there would have been no Soviet Union, maybe no Nazi Germany. I don't know.
Take in Wilson. I'll beat the shit out of Woodrow Wilson in a match.
Wow, dude.
That dude was a scumbag, and he's the reason why all the shit is the way it is.
You could say the 10 planks of communism have already been instilled in our
Right.
society, right?
It's a good argument.
Closer to Marxism,
But
universities.
most people don't believe that. Like, maybe they might support some politicians who believe some of those planks, but for the most part, people are just like, yeah, they
People just want free shit.
It's a $1 trillion,
Yeah.
$1 trillion indoctrination machine.
It's like half of these people in like the DSA, like the Democratic Socialists, people that claim to be in that group or claim to have sympathies towards them. When you go through their plank and you show them, they want to have the workers owns the means of production. You explain to them what that is, they're like, oh, I don't want that. I just want free healthcare, you know.
Right,
Yeah.
yeah.
Just want,
You know.
give me that.
But, you know, those are the people, I mean, that's what they're relying on is people's ignorance so they can sort of push their ideology out there, get them latched onto a few of their sort of core policy changes, and then kind of just sneak it in, you know, under the radar.
like Venezuela.
Right.
You guys see that they have to write on their arms now numbers, so to know what your place in line is for these government supermarkets, whatever they have left of garbage, they're kind of feeding out to these people.
Wow.
Yeah.
Where have I seen that before?
Right. Yeah.
Wow. But they're writing on. They got them to write it on themselves now.
Right.
Oh, Jesus, it's insane.
Yeah, so I think next on the topics, on YouTube, they're deleting a lot of Nazis this week, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
And
Nazis, quote unquote.
Yeah, they're deleting historical footage
Yeah.
of Nazis.
Yeah.
And I'm sure any self-proclaimed white supremacists or neo-Nazis have long been banned from YouTube, I would think.
Well, yeah, and it's funny, though, because this is like a thing that Hitler did, right? Burning books, like burning history.
Censorship. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was, I think we all, I don't know about you guys, but one time I came to the realization where I was just like, wow, YouTube's so cool because it's going to like, document these things forever. They're like permanently on record or something. And now like YouTube is like changing history or trying to.
Well, they're the censors now, and it puts libertarians in an awkward position because we're usually the ones like, yeah, privatize it and privatize this, and then you have a private entity doing the censorship that usually government would be doing.
Yeah, but
Well, you can oppose censorship without saying, "Well, I want the government to come in and regulate this." Right? I mean, you can say, "This is bad. I don't like what this company is doing." That doesn't mean I want someone to show up with a gun to the head of YouTube and say, "Put these videos back up." There's a distinction with a difference there, I would say.
All right.
But I do think it is bad to be, because we need to remember these things. We need to keep these in the consciousness of society so that we don't allow it to repeat itself. And all the people that say like, "Oh, Trump's Hitler," not if you're paying attention. Like there's certainly a difference between the two. But that aside, just making sure that we can see, like, what does it look like when people are, like, whipped into, like, a nationalistic fervor that has, a more racist or racist bent to it. This is what it really looks like, is, a bunch of people, like, all doing the salute and chanting and all that kind of shit. Like, that's what that looks like. But if we start erasing these videos, then we can't see what that looks like. We don't know. We can maybe read about it. We can maybe look up footage at the library if you spend some time. But if it's like deleted from the public record, which is essentially what YouTube is now, that could have devastating effects for the future.
It shouldn't be the public record. I mean, it's one source. I don't know why other video companies haven't emerged as like.
Jared,
Well, it's okay.
Jared,
It's not being completely wiped from anybody's. People. Yeah, there's Vimeo. There's other places where you can find this data. People's hard drives everywhere. I'm not saying it can't be recreated. I'm just saying,
Jared,
as a general idea, it's not good. It's just not good that they're doing that. But yeah, I don't think there should be government intervention to prevent them from doing it.
I think this is why you should start YouTube.
Just all Holocaust videos.
That's all the time.
All it is.
Yeah, I mean they have the
Videos of
the
Passover
National
Seder.
Holocaust Museum. So like,
Yeah, exactly.
If
If you go in there, you're going to see a lot of videos of Hitler. Are they
Yeah.
worshiping Hitler? No, they're not.
Yeah.
They're just showing what happened so that we can know what that looks like, so that we can maybe prevent it in the future.
Well, it's crazy because I posted a picture of what was happening on my local newspaper, the Howard County Times around here, and it showed a picture of a female like reverend, and she's like has her hand like out like she's doing the Roman salute, and she's got the rainbow flag around her, and she's like talking to a bunch of parishioners, whatever, and people were getting upset because it looked like she was doing Heil Hitler in the picture, and they were like, maybe you should have picked another picture. There's got to be another one that was taken of her. They shouldn't have made it on the cover. It's
like making like an
insensitive.
OK symbol or something.
Yeah, right. And so it's stupid shit like that. It's like they don't want you to know what Hitler said. They want you to know what they think Hitler was. Like they don't want you to. They kind of want them to be the source of the material, because that way they can change narratives. They don't that's the way it looks like to me.
I think it's just more they're just virtue signaling and just
trying
to cover their ass.
Well, like in
without
history,
thinking about the consequences.
In history books, like to your point, they don't sometimes put down like citations of the Constitution. They just kind of reword like what does the Second Amendment mean, right?
Yeah.
And just kind of reword things over and over again and kind of lose its meaning. I think it's kind of funny that people who are like, well, what about private property? It's my private property. They could do anything you want, but also libertarians can have an opinion about that sort of stuff, right? And like there's some things that I am against, even though there could be a free market to create a lot of stuff. Like people say, well, what about sex dolls for pedophiles? Like I would be against that.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want, if I live in a city, covenant community and whatnot, I would be against someone setting up a store. I mean, people are like, well, free market creative. Well, I can still have an opinion against things like that anyway.
Yeah, why is it such a hard concept?
You could, you could petition. You could, if you wanted to, march in the street. You could boycott, whatever. Encourage other people to. Doesn't necessarily mean you need to, make a law.
Right. Yeah.
But I'm getting really sick and tired of the same old tripe I hear from libertarians when I post something like this, and they're like, the first response is, "It's a private company. They could do what they want. It's a private company." I'm like, "Oh, is it? Okay, that's your argument. That's where it ends.
Well, that's
you
it.
can't have an opinion other than that. Like,
Nazi.
so if it was a private business that was like raping cows and then selling their corpses, you'd be fine with that. Like that's cool because it's a private business.
Yeah.
There was a video that just came out with animal cruelty with the cows. I don't know if you guys saw it.
Fairlife, I think it was. Yeah.
I didn't watch the
Wait,
video.
cow
I
rape?
can't stand that stuff.
No, they were like abusing like cows and shit. Dude, I was a vegan for so long. I've seen so many of those videos.
What helped you cross over?
I just stopped caring.
Yeah.
It was
Meat
very
tastes good, all right?
It was very
lamb
anti.
chops.
It was very anti-human. I got to that point and it was very pro legislation and just shit. I just stopped caring. I was like, this just is not for me. I felt like I was pretending to be someone I wasn't.
I just
At a
got back
certain
from
point.
Texas, and Texas is not a good place for a vegetarian. There's like pictures of like meat and bacon and ribs everywhere. I don't know. It's just a very
Just making me hungry.
Vegans are weird because like PETA, these kinds of people would be like, every animal is sacred. Every little, you have to kind of save all these little lives, but then at the same time there'd be very poor, killing babies, pro-abortion sort of stuff. Like, well, I guess where their priorities lie, and which kind of they value more than the other.
Exactly, and it's just they live off of these false beliefs that like the planet's overpopulated and stuff like that, which is statistically not true.
They grind that into you in school, because I remember hearing that as like the hockey stick projection. I was in school when they taught me that. We're like, there's a ozone depletion layer over Argentina and Antarctica, but you don't hear anything about that now because it fixed itself.
Yeah. I know, and I remember though one thing it did stick out in my mind because one class, environmental science, we were telling us like the world's like overpopulated and just general like stuff like that. But then the next class I went to, which was just a regular like social studies class, they were talking about how this was back in '90s, late '90s, early 2000s. They were like literally the entire population of the whole world standing side by side, front to back, could fit in the city limits of Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, back then. I mean, I'm sure it's gone up since then. I mean, it was, what is it, where we're now, 6 billion people on the planet?
7.
You can fit
I
the
think
whole world
7.
Back then it
population
was like
in
4 billion.
New Zealand, and everyone has enough space. Or in Texas. I used to be a hardcore recycler. I wouldn't put trash away. And
Me too.
I was like, if this is recyclable, it goes in my pocket till I find a receptacle for it, right?
Yeah,
I would drive out to specific bins in the city to drop off stuff that you couldn't go in the recycling bin. And then I read... I heard Tom Woods have this interview with this lady who used to work in that field. It's like, the whole thing's bunk. It's like, oh my God, years of dedication.
Wait, what do you mean? What do you mean it's bunk?
Recycling's a scam.
Yeah, it is.
But how so? Like, what are they doing?
So, like, if you have you have to get another trash can vehicle that's also create more pollution to pick up a separate part of another trash that takes it to another facility that sometimes is not as cost prohibitive in terms like it's cheaper to make a new one than it is to recycle the old stuff. And if things were also that valuable, and sometimes you do find it, homeless people will go through it and take it away anyways, right?
Yeah.
But for the most part, a lot of the stuff is just not worth it.
And it was based off, I don't remember when I heard it.
I mean, it's not worth it, but could it be worth it in that it's less plastic in the ocean or not?
Well, the United States pollutes like what? It's like responsible for like less than like 5% of that. Most of that is from
it's
China.
like 1%, less than 1%.
1%. Yeah, so it's not even us that's doing it. There's this commercial the media put out, like this barge, like outside of like New York City, like tons of trash. Like the landfills are full. Where is it gonna go?
Yep.
We have a problem here, and so that created this hype that never existed. Right?
It was a fake report. I remember Penn and Teller did an episode of Bullshit on it, and I remember it blew my mind. It blew my mind. They were like, this whole thing about how we're running out of room in landfills and everything. It was based off a 1987 report from some guy who, he was proven false. Like, this was proven false later on. And he came out with it, and he was saying that we're running out of room and there's going to be overflowing, exploding landfills and shit like that.
Total lie.
And it was based off a lie. And that's what got this whole recycling kick going. And you got to think about, like, and like the stuff they use to bleach paper is so bad that for the environment, like, and they just dump it, the bleach paper, to use recycled paper.
Right, and now they have like better ways to handle landfills, like things like the waste, like they layer the ground with all kinds of waste for things to kind of break down. So there's really don't have that kind of problems. I would have joined the Philippines in the war against Canada. Remember when because Canada apparently had trash there, left there like for 7 years. It was supposed to be stuff to be recyclable, but they found like baby diapers in there, and then like the president of Philippines like, look, if you guys don't pick this up, we are declaring war on Canada in 1 week. And I was thinking to myself, but technically, you could join, I think, the Philippines on their side in that war against Canada and not be considered treason. I think it's only considered treason if Canada allies with the U.S. and then you're on the U.S. side, and they could get you with that.
Was that the same president who said he used to be gay, but then his wife cured
I think
him
that might be
of it?
the same one. The one who wants to give everyone guns. Yeah,
that dude's fucking crazy. He's like, we should execute drug dealers and shit.
I would have joined the Philippines and crusaded Canada in a heartbeat. That's for sure.
But going back, one thing I wanted to talk about the whole it's a private business thing. They can do what they want, but it's such a dumb thing to just stop your opinion there, because like we said before, it's your right to have an opinion on something as a human being, like whether you like something or not. Like I could say I don't like root beer, but I like birch beer. Like, it's a private business, you shouldn't criticize
Doesn't that say something about how
about you? Root beer is the drink of the intellectuals. Just saying.
But doesn't it say something about how like we as a society conflate criticizing with wanting a law to be passed?
Yes.
It's like
I'm not asking for a law.
you
know what I mean?
Exactly. But like it's just sad that's what the first proposed solution is always like, we need a law. We need something. We need violence to solve this problem.
That's why libertarians are so defensive. That's why they're so quick to be like, it's a private business.
Right.
Because
But when
so
you're talking with
used to
other
being-
libertarians, you should at least give them the benefit of the doubt. Like, wait, maybe he's not talking about armed thugs showing up the door. Maybe he's talking about, boycotts or just not spending his money there and just going somewhere else, or like writing a letter, something nonviolent.
But even like even in my, like when I say, like people say it's a private business, I'm like, well, really, is it a private business?
Well, that's the other
a business
side
that
of the token
like YouTube did all these bannings. They aligned with the Anti-Defamation League to decide who should be banned and who not. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they're a non-government organizations, but yet still receives tax dollars and is funded through big government and like lobbies. I'm pretty sure they are in bed with the Israeli lobby. You know what I mean? So
how dare you, Phil?
I know. I'm sorry to trigger you, man. But no. Also, think about this too. The Atlantic Council. When they banned us and they kicked us off Facebook, they use the Atlantic Council, another non-government organization, which, might add, receives money from Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, all these pro-war, military global, industrial complexes. Globalists. And it's like, so they work with government. So, and I can't sit there and be like, well, this is a private institution. Really? Well, the dude who runs that private institution just begged Congress to regulate him. Like, so don't fucking tell me this is a private business. It's not. They're colluding with government. Like, I can see it. I see it all the time. And these are organizations that take our tax dollars, and they're not elected. They're not, even if that means anything to you. But it's just like, they're not elected. They're just there. And I'm sorry, but that's not private to me. Like, you know what I mean? Like, how often do you see, like, your barbershop colluding with government to get what it wants. Like, that's a private business.
It's kind of like Google colluding with the Chinese government and kind of censoring search terms. Like maybe there's no pictures, so maybe they kind of Photoshop the Tiananmen Square stuff out of there, right?
Yes, exactly. And like Google works with France they just got, this just came out that they were working with France to determine how, or to help France on how to censor the internet and how to censor what comes up for hate speech and stuff like that. So they're literally working with governments to prevent free speech.
New Zealand, the shooting, right?
Yes,
Trying to censor.
yeah.
They're still private. They're still private businesses.
Yeah, I know they're
but
privately traded. Yes, I know. I get that.
Like they're in the they're working with the regulators because those are the people that are regulating them. Like they have no choice. You know,
they could say
Google,
no.
Google can't go into China without playing by the rules of the Chinese government. You know, so there's gonna be some conversation there when you're as big as Google or
exactly. So how?
But that doesn't mean it's not a private company. It is a private company. But they're,
But it's using a monopolistic forces of government
collusion
to achieve its goals.
No, they're doing what the government wants. The Chinese government is saying, we don't want this stuff that embarrasses us coming up on your search engine. So it's the government putting their thumb on the private company and making them do these things so that, that doesn't mean it's not a private company.
But how private can you say you are when you work with government and you work with organizations that take our tax dollars, and
you're still fully private? It's like who owns you?
I get I know, but I can still say it's not that private of a company at that point when you're actively you're demanding Congress regulate you when you could do the regulations yourself. It's
still technically private.
Kyle.
Well, technically,
here's one, like Walmart trying to get government to increase the minimum wage, right?
Yes,
right. Yeah. They want that law to get passed to kind of eliminate some of their sub-competitors, right?
Yeah.
So it's, they may be private, but there's interesting collusions that they have with the state to limit private competition to enter those markets.
Yeah, that's a little bit of a different example because there you have the private company like begging to regulate or do something that's going to hurt their competitors as opposed to the first example, which is like Google trying to be allowed in China and trying to find out what they're allowed to show and not allowed to show. To me, that's not collusion. That's just, okay, we want to play by the rules. What are your rules?
But what about the other example of them working with some company to determine what to censor, and that company is sort of a government, at least influenced organization?
I'm not
saying
that gets really gray.
I'm not saying that it takes away their private status, legally speaking, but when you have, it's certainly cronyist when you say, if you're working with the government in some
crony
fashion.
Socialism.
Every single company and every person in every company it has to work with the government in some regard. They're playing by the government's rules. Like we live.
I guess it's a matter of a degree then. Because if I go and start a restaurant, I have to pass the red tape. It doesn't mean I'm colluding with the government. It just means I'm, I have things that I have to do.
Like we all have driver's licenses.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that we're in bed with the government.
Elon Musk takes millions in government grants.
Now there I'll give you that one because it's he's getting money from the government. That's cronyism. That's a perfect example of cronyism.
Right.
I get that, and I'm not. When it comes to, they're not asking Cato. They're not going to Cato and saying what should we ban, what shouldn't we ban? They're not going to Mises saying, what should we ban, what shouldn't we ban? No, they're going to the Atlantic Council. And the Atlantic Council is being funded through them, or is being told through them, working with them, this is what we don't want you to put, this is what we want you to throttle. Anything that's anti-government, throttle. And they're like, okay, regulate me, baby, do it harder.
Or what about their search terms? The way that their search results and algorithm is more liberal based and biased and things they're going to look for, right? And then the things where you search for other terms for libertarian, conservative, that kind of throw you in the loop and show some crazy people and those terms that comes up instead.
Yeah, you find the Kyle Wagners of the world,
right?
I think that goes to the just the bias of the companies themselves. I think it's Silicon Valley in general. It's well known has a left leaning bias. They're very anti-Trump, which,
you can look at where their donations are going to. Right?
Yeah, they're mostly Democrats.
So does the government own YouTube, or does YouTube own the government?
Dun dun dun.
I think YouTube's publicly owned, right?
So
It's like stockholders. It's owned by Google, and Google's a public company. So if you own shares of Google,
are you saying we own Google, dude?
I guess I don't know if you bought Google stock.
They said the first early angel investors for Uber, like putting down like $20,000, mega millionaires now.
I know. I wish that was me. I was
Right.
just thinking that. I was like, I wish I would have invested.
But this is
in
so
it.
funny because like I always talk about this buddy I work with. We're always like he always walked by me like, man, we need to win the lottery. I'm like, yeah, but we need to play it first. Like me and him always say that, but we never buy tickets or anything. We're just it's so
That's
it's one of
good.
those things,
You should not buy lottery tickets. That's
Yeah.
not a good. That's not a good
I know.
strategy.
like, I know.
Like,
National Harbor, right? MGM.
Yeah.
Yeah, quarter slots.
there you go.
Right. But it's just so because we see now like oh yeah, I got the horseshoe. Right?
Yeah.
That's like right up the street.
Yeah, the gambling is interesting. In Maryland, we didn't used to have gambling, and it's progressively gotten more and more gambling legalized. But it's only because they've had to promise 50% of the revenues or something ridiculous
Because
to
of
the government.
education.
But now they're
something
saying
like
they're not getting it. They're saying that schools are still underfunded when they.
Oh, they're always.
They're
always
always
underfunded.
underfunded. Yeah.
When were the schools ever like, you know what, we're good?
Yeah, we're good. You know, we're gonna give you back some money because
ever-
we're just so fully funded.
We
man.
did it.
we're overfunded.
It's like I think that's like a law of government agencies. They never have enough, right? The budget is never enough.
Well, it's kind of like in the military. If you
there
don't,
you go.
if you don't use it, you lose it, right? So
Yeah.
if you allocate a budget, like say $100,000, and so you only really need is $60,000, but if you don't use the other $40,000 and any miscellaneous stuff, the next budget is not going to be allocated for you to still have $100,000. It'll be cut
Right.
down
Right.
to $60,000.
I recently read a story about I forget which, I don't know what vehicle or whatever. I think it might have been some type of, I forget what it was, but it was the Air Force bought $30,000 toilet seats. Toilet seats, not toilets, not
Yeah.
toilet
Were they made-
systems. 30,000.
They made out of gold.
Shit, man, they could have been. And so that was their justification. Really, it was like, well, we had it in the budget. We needed it for this, So, yeah, because if you spent cheaper, you would have to give a portion of that back the next fiscal year or whatever.
Yeah, I read something about lobster dinners, things like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's nuts. It's insane. I wish I had more the docs on it, but I don't.
I forgot to put it on the board, but I did want to mention that I want to talk about the scooters. We have these electric scooters. I don't know if all the listeners have seen these, but if you live in a city, you've definitely seen them.
Yeah, like
it's like
DC,
Bird and
yeah.
Lime, and then there's Uber
has
and
them.
Lyft both have their brands too. And Baltimore recently came out with a proposal to strictly regulate the crap out of these scooters. They're going to
Really?
put a speed limit of, I think it's like 8 miles an hour, which is pretty slow.
Dude, you could run faster than that.
Yeah, it's pretty slow.
Dude, I could
And-
run faster than that.
And they want to limit.
A lot of chafing, but I could do it.
They want to limit it to
You
4.
might die at the end, but you can
I
go
could
make
do
it
it.
there.
Are you going to tell you that they have to wear helmets too now?
I don't know about
Oh,
safety
what?
equipment. I'm sure that's on the.
Be
on
prepared for the
list
lice
of-
epidemic.
Which
You
list,
got to give
but-
arm signals.
Dude, and you know all this does is hurt the poor.
Of course.
Because
Of
most of the people that I see riding these, now there's some like hipsters you'll see on them are just like regular people, but like if you go into like the sort of shadier parts of Baltimore or the poorer parts of Baltimore, there's a ton of the people in that area in those communities that are using these because they're a cheap way to get from point A to point B. You don't have to ride the bus. You don't have to like hitchhike. You can just hop on this thing, swipe your credit card in, and then go, and you're there, and it's cheap.
Well, it's like app based, so they'd have to have a smartphone, right?
Yeah, but
There you
A
go.
lot of poor people have
They
phones.
do.
Yeah, poor people
They
in this
have
country
Poor people
do.
have phones in this country.
Yeah. That's not
Um,
an issue. It's just, but now it's like
It's a human right.
Well, let me
okay?
give you the other regulations. They
I didn't get
want-
my Obama phone.
They want to limit it to 4 companies. They don't want any more companies
There
to
you
be
go.
allowed to come in and compete.
and one of them is going to be the Baltimore City Company of
Yeah.
scooters, right?
I don't know.
Oh,
And, and the mandatory headlights. They want all the scooters to be required to have lighting. Some of them right now, I think, shut down at 9 p.m. They won't work after 9. And then other ones, if they have lights, they will work.
Could you
but-
imagine having to walk your stupid scooter across that like 903? You're
Just
just
leave
walking
it.
through the hood and it's like, What's up, guys? Yeah, 9 o'clock.
It starts
man.
piddling out. You're like, oh no,
God,
come on.
Yeah, what if you're like in the middle of an intersection and it shuts off? You're
I
just like,
saw
fuck!
I saw it on a highway driving through DC on 395. Somebody went on the highway and just left it there. So I guess I don't know, drunken night, and just like, well, I'm done with this.
Yeah, I was just in DC the other night, and I had to park like about a half mile away from the venue. I was seeing band Sick of It All and Slapshot, and I was at the Rock and Roll Hotel, and I had to park so far away. I was walking, and dude, every single time I look up, there was another scooter going past me. I'm like, Jesus Christ! Like, I heard about it, but you really don't see it until you're actually in the city. And I was also in Baltimore. I was in the middle of the city on Thursday, and I was seeing them. Everybody riding them there. It was crazy. So it's gotten. I say in the past year or two, it's gotten huge.
Yeah, it really has. It'd be interesting to see what happens with the regulation. So
Speaking of that, about hurting the poor, I don't know you.
yeah,
you
you
wanna
go
say-
ahead. I just remembered what I wanted to say though. It was I forgot.
Sorry, my bad.
What about
but I
bum
say-
fights, boxing matches? Do we bring that back again?
Oh, jeez.
But so this brings me back to like hurting the poor. It was this Connecticut, this representative from Connecticut, Jillian Gilchrist. She like had this crusade where she posted this on Twitter. She said, I am beyond pleased that Connecticut will join the rest of the country in licensing eyelash technicians, aestheticians, and nail technicians.
Oh, great.
And starting in the next year or two. And so, like, of course, like, I posted this on the Instagram, and it says, imagine bragging about keeping poor people from getting jobs. And that's essentially what this is. I mean, think about that. Like, to apply nail polish, you need a fucking license.
Yeah, they go
It's insane.
way overboard with the licensing. My point on the scooters was going to be with public property and public roads and making rules for those roads. Like, I guess in the in Capistan, where the roads would be privatized, the private owners would set the rules. But since we have public roads, like, there's going to be some rules on these scooters. And I don't agree with limiting the number of companies, but like, I don't necessarily think that you should be allowed to ride them on the highways. I don't know what you guys think about that. Would you
Go for it.
You would allow?
Yeah. I think it'd be
mean-
wild. I mean, all right, so you look at
8 miles an hour slowly.
I mean, especially congestion and rush hours, like, gee, right? It's coming here from Richmond. Yeah, I could see someone on a scooter just doing faster than I was. But you find places like in Europe where they kind of remove all the street lights and all the traffic signs, becomes a shared road experience. People are on their bicycles. Congestion actually decreased. Traffic flow increased. People were able to get faster to where they wanted to go in their destination.
Yeah,
So maybe something like that. And that was public. That's public property.
All right, I guess I don't know. I guess I'd have to see it on the highway scooters. doing 15 miles an hour.
Then you can't
in the curb.
regulate them to 8 miles an hour though.
Right.
That
yeah.
those two things might not jive.
Yeah,
Sounds like an awful
and
idea.
I don't know, man. Like, it's a balancing act. It'd be crazy to see somebody trying to do 35 on one of those things.
Some
Like,
men just want
they
to
have
watch the
no
world burn.
suspension whatsoever. If you hit like a
Oh yeah,
bump,
especially like a Baltimore City pothole, dude.
if
You're
you hit a pothole, like, you will
Go to
disappear.
295,
Yeah.
half the road's missing.
Yeah.
You're like, "Ah!"
So
yeah, you gotta
Yeah.
like when like the one lane is like completely fucked.
Yeah.
I don't believe in the no stoplights thing. I know that's a popular libertarian thing. Like, if we had no stoplights, everything would just work and people would stop and go as they needed to.
it
And
works in Europe.
I'm like,
Works in
yeah,
Europe.
I doubt it. I
It does.
doubt
It does really, like, you see some videos online of like this crazy Chinese intersection.
I've seen
And
the
you're like,
video, and
how
I
is
don't
no one
want-
dying?
I
How is
don't
no one
wanna
dying
live
in
like
this?
that,
All right,
right?
so the reason why it works well for them is that they're not like here. We're looking at lights. We're not looking at each other, right? So even like driving, you're just kind of looking at lights. Even you're looking at your phone. Where when you remove all that stuff, you make eye contact with each other, and so you're able to go at a speed that's comparable where everyone.
Yeah,
is.
dude, we don't grow up with authoritarian games like red light and like
Red light, green
stop.
light.
I don't know. I like
Green
the
light.
it's your turn. Okay, now it's my turn. That works for me.
Can I use the bathroom? All right, here's a permission slip.
I
That's,
feel
that's when
man.
you're a hardcore libertarian, when you get like triggered by traffic lights. You're
I
like,
get triggered by
God.
the game, like kids playing it. I'm like, so what gave him the authority to tell you to stop when he said stop?
But here's the thing: if you did, if we lived in Capistan and you had private ownership of the roads, you could find out what works best, right? You'd have one owner that'd be like, I still think traffic lights are a good idea, and you can measure that, right? And you can measure like whether that is effective or not, and then compare it to this other guy's like no traffic lights. everyone can do whatever they want, or
Yeah.
or maybe we just have a stop sign here and there just to like make
You
sure
have
people stop.
awesome cars on the road, Mad Max styles, because a lot of the cars on the roads are kind of limited by government regulation and stuff like that. Like the technology is limited.
Yeah.
So
I mean, yeah.
I mean,
just
America-
outside of traffic lights would be
Yeah.
completely
This used to
different.
be-
But
men
it
used to be very dangerous and taming the wild and climbing mountains, and I think we can do very well ourselves. Crossing the street and
yeah, it's true.
getting from point A to point B.
It is so embarrassing, like standing there, like waiting where the signs. They got the stupid orange hand telling you can't cross, but like there's no cars coming at all.
Or just when you're like
I'm-
out at like 3 a.m. and there's a red light and you're sitting there, there's
Yes.
like literally no traffic.
Yes.
I usually just go.
They do find that it's actually traffic gets more congested when you have a cop directing it. If you don't have a cop, traffic actually moves a lot faster. People
because you
kinda,
see a stupid cop car there, and you're like, oh,
Time to slam on my brakes.
yeah, it's,
Yeah.
it's like the pig's trying to pull me over.
roads.
Roads. Can't live with them. Fuck them. No. All right, let's move on to
Pride parade, man.
yeah. So are
So
you
who's
going to
going?
the So are you going to the straight parade? The straight pride parade?
If they're giving out free Chick-fil-A sandwiches, hell yeah.
Sponsored by
Yeah.
Macy's.
I don't know. I mean, I think it's just kind of an asinine.
It's a troll
thing.
job. Like, come
Yeah,
on.
it's got to be a troll, right?
No,
Yes.
no. This parade would be people actually dressed respectably, ties and suits. There's not going to be any kid dancing around half naked and twerking.
Did you see that shit? That video?
Yeah,
At
yeah,
one
yeah.
of the pride parades, there was a 7-year-old twerking like on the
Right.
ground in front of a group of men and shit. It was so gross.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Right. This is the marshal is going to be Milo, so you can't really say it's anti-gay or anything like that.
right.
Now, here's an interesting thing. A lot of people say that you can't have pride over things that you never took part of. You're like, well, you can't be a proud German. You can't be, why are you waving that flag? You never did any of this or accomplished that. Well, you could say the same thing then to people at the gay pride parade, right? If you're born gay, you didn't do anything to be gay, right? So you can't be proud. Shows pride to be something that you didn't really do much anything towards that.
Oh
right?
my god, I'm thinking of making a hilarious meme with that.
Well, I mean, at the same time,
so true.
the
Blew my
opposite
mind.
side of that coin would say that haven't gay people went through a lot of bullshit. Like until recently,
Persecution.
they
Tell
weren't
us
allowed
about your
to-
persecution, Matt.
Anyways, until recently, Kyle and I were not able to.
Were you
wed.
at Stonewall, Jackson? Is that the name of that place? Were you there? Was that you? No, none of these people were there. Same thing like they say, well, you didn't participate in that hockey game. You weren't in that battle.
Well, I
right?
mean,
Kyle might have participated.
Well,
in
I
that
think
game.
gay marriage has only been legal for like 4 or 5 years in Maryland, so there could
They
be plenty of people who
discriminate
against
against single people because it's mostly tax benefits that you're going after.
I mean, okay, see, I would agree with that. I would say get the state out of marriage. You
Yeah.
know, I think,
Alabama, great miracle.
Yeah, I mean, personally, I would say get the state out of marriage, and I really think it mostly just penalizes single people. You know, because when you're single, you don't get that break on taxes.
Right.
You know, at the same time, I'm not going to. I would like to see. I would like to see everybody get a break on taxes, so I'm not going to say take away the break of taxes from, you know what I mean?
No one was saying gays
Yeah.
couldn't get married. It was just it wasn't going to be recognized by government. No one's saying that you couldn't do your own private ceremonies. Nobody was stopping any of that stuff happening.
Yeah.
What it was is just it wouldn't be recognized by government for tax reasons, stuff like that. And of course, government should have been involved. The only reason they got involved was to prevent interracial marriages, right?
Well,
So
Cal,
they-
you like tax breaks, right?
yeah, I hate taxes. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, isn't it cool that like it's like this? Like some people say tax the churches, and it's like no. I mean,
No,
it's
yeah.
like
Make everyone like the church. Tax free.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know. So I mean, don't you at all
College
think
tax
it's
record.
like it's cool that gays can get married and they can pay less taxes?
The gays could have always gotten married. It just wasn't
And they
recognized by
couldn't
the
pay
government.
less taxes though.
They should have
Yeah,
been against government being involved in marriage.
they wanted the,
that was the point that they should have gone.
Yeah,
Oh,
they
I
wanted- they
totally
wanted-
agree with
Yeah.
that.
There
Yeah.
are other things involved with it, like like deathbed rights, when you can say whether to pull the plug on your spouse.
Right.
Those are
And
contracts, though.
There's pensions and Social Security, so there's like who gets what money, and then there's like custody and divorce over the kid. Like there's a lot of like little implications with being married, where you form a legal partnership with somebody, and not having that, I don't know how those issues would be resolved.
Those are lawyers, though. Those they draw that up. That existed. Anyone could have done that.
Well, I kind of feel like, I just kind of think that, you're not going to be able to get, you're probably
actually
not going to be able
better
to
than
get
feelings,
government
Matt.
out of those things. It's
Alabama just did it.
Yeah, I don't.
Alabama just wrote off marriages that they're not going to be involved in licensing it.
I mean,
I saw that.
It's great. I wish you could get government out of those things. You
Yeah.
know, I wish you could just like eliminate it totally.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, when I get married, there's no government license, anything like that. You can get married now on the blockchain.
Yeah, but I
Right?
mean,
It'll forever be
well,
recorded.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I mean, why wouldn't you want to
Amazing.
get married and get the tax break?
Well, because it's not a relationship with government, right? It's a relationship between you and your partner and God, or whoever, and whatever it is you want to believe in.
Right,
But it's
right.
not a relationship between me, who I love, and government, right? I don't care about the tax break. I'm fine letting go of the tax break as long as to say that government's not going to be invited in this private ritual. That's not a person I want anywhere to be involved in something sanctimonious.
It gets hairy, especially if you split. If the relationship goes sour, and then you're fighting over who gets the house, who gets the car, who gets the kid, who gets the money, who gets the alimony, who has to pay child support. So that's where the two people tend to fight. You know.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff, you have your prenups, but a lot of this stuff is just lawyering. This is just contract work. What happens when this happens is in a contract, and things kind of get delineated from there.
Yeah, but contracts ultimately go to a court, you know, to be enforced, like a government court. So like, if you just have a fight and you guys can't ever come to agreement, like I have a couple friends that have gotten divorced and they have a very bad relationship, and they've had to go to court numerous times to get a judgment one way or the other. They just haven't been able to settle it otherwise.
The divorce rates are horrible. Yeah. What caused that? Where's that coming from? I don't know. They do say the more partners, premarital partners that you have, like of 10 or more after that, the success rate of that marriage drops like it's 20% at that point. 80% more likely to be unhappy and unfulfilled and ending in a divorce. Why did that happen? I think there's a lot of stuff that people want to remove, like tradition. I think tradition is great. Maybe there's a reason why waiting until you get married, it was important, right? But you find a lot of liberals trying to just sexualize everything, say that it doesn't matter. And you find this on Netflix. You find this in public schools. And then no wonder, divorce rates are so high. No wonder there's a lot of unhappy marriages.
That's why Kyle's saving himself.
I'm proud of you, Connie.
For the right guy.
Yeah.
For the right man.
So I think it's a consequence of other things that should be looked at culturally.
I couldn't agree with you more on that, man. You speak my language.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I know. Jared's a sexual deviant.
No.
It's the Jew in it.
I mean, I fit what you're saying. I don't know.
No, I get what you're saying to the point, but going back to the whole marriage issue is people, like, they talk about it as if it's like a civil rights issue of like, the only reason my relationship is valid is if the government says it's valid.
Right.
Like that, the appeal to authority on that is so strange to me.
Right.
Because if I was turned away from a business, I would be pissed. But
It's mostly about people wanting
around here.
It's mostly about people wanting the benefits that we just listed.
I completely agree with you on that part.
That's what it's mostly about.
But when I hear the arguments, when people shift it to this is I need the piece of paper, I need the judge to tell me it's okay,
Right.
and it's not fair. Some other people do it. It's not. Completely agree with you on tax reasons. Like that's why we got married too. Is tax reasons.
I'm not judging on anybody who's done it for that.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just saying, me personally, I'm
whatever,
not
Cal.
going to invite government.
But I'm just saying, like, the appeal to authority of, like, it's only legitimate if government says it is. And, like, I need government to tell me that, and I'm going to fight my way. Government legitimizes my relationship. And, like, no, that's not how relationships work. Like I said, if I got kicked out of a business for whatever reason because they didn't like the way I look or whatever, I'd be pissed. Like, don't get me wrong. I'd be fucking pissed. But you know what? Then I say, fuck you. I'll go find somewhere else. I'll go to a church that accepts me, and I'll live my life. And, you know what? I'm going to pay more, and it sucks. It's not fair. But that's a whole different issue. But I'm talking about the validity of the relationship seems to be completely on this topic of, like, the government tells me it's okay.
Right.
And that's the one argument that drives me crazy when you hear a lot of, like, the sob stories, which it sucks. Yeah, it does. I'd be pissed. You have every right to be upset and mad because it's weird how some reason the government's even involved in marriage in the first place. It's really fucking weird.
Right.
But I think now it's like I said before, it's like this $1 trillion indoctrination machine that we've been put in since birth. It tells us we need government to approve of this. We need government. We need licenses and regulations, and we need government to tell us it's okay. We go to schooling where they give us grades and they give us thumbs ups and stickers and stars telling us you did a good job from a teacher taller and smarter than you, and you're just this weak, stupid kid. Like, it's that appeal to authority that we need to, and I think it translates over to people when they get older, and I think that's where this issue comes from. And taxes definitely a reason for like
it's Kyle
people like
Wagner
us.
syndrome, really. That's what it is.
Get married to a nice road.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with like the Gay Pride Festival. I look at it like, or parade, I guess it is, but like I look at it as just kind of a niche interest, like, or a niche thing that people are into. Like my friend just went to a metal festival,
Like Comic-Con
this weekend, or Comic-Con. You know,
What metal festival? Tell me the
I
metal
would
festival.
say like I would say the whole, maybe they should because I kind of relate it to maybe like how, and obviously, you know, being anarchists, most of us, except for you, Kyle, this isn't the best analogy, but the fact that people celebrate, Independence Day, right?
Yeah.
When this happened, like, 275 years ago, you know, we're not being colonized anymore, right? Why are we still celebrating this? Well, it's just remembering this event that happened. Perhaps gay pride can be reframed as, like, a celebration of gays sort of achieving more understanding in the culture and less oppression and getting, advancing, society advancing to be more accepting.
Also, look at the coding they did. I mean, look, Armistice Day was turned into what? Veterans Day. Independence Day turned into what? 4th of July, not Independence Day. Hardly.
Right,
it's like half and half.
right.
People call it 4th of July.
Right, it is all in the name too, right?
It's that slow.
But they have a day,
nudging
not a whole
you.
month. What's this?
Or, yeah,
Well, yeah. I mean,
Not a whole month.
Let's have we give it a whole month. This one day is enough.
No, I mean, okay. I guess the thing that I don't like about it all is like it's just identity politics in general.
Right.
You know,
Yeah,
it's just
sure.
like I've been saying this for years, and probably everybody here agrees with me. It's why can't we just we're all individuals, and individuals all have the same rights. You know, why can't we just like end it there? You know, why do we need like 420 genders?
Yeah, right. Two, right, guys?
I mean, I think that there's
I don't know,
two.
Bergman's like a third, I think.
Oh, okay.
No, you're talking about his chromosomes, I think.
Yeah, so I don't know. I think from here we're gonna move it on to the after hours.
Yeah.
And,
Oh, yeah.
so we have t-shirts over at libertariancountry.com. If you put in the code PRL or the code PRL podcast,
They got some new cool shirts too, man. I'd totally hit it up.
Yeah, so put in the code PRL or the code PRL podcast, and you'll receive a 10% discount. Until next time, live free
Or die.
Stay liberated. That was fun.
Yeah, dude.
1 second.
Oh, still on here.
Still